Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 8. Rasohamapsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashisuryayoh pranavah sarvavedeshu shabdah khe paurusham rishu. Here there are three types of S sibilant sound. One is sa, which is just a simple S. One is S with an accent on top, and then one is the S with a dot below. So, if you see Bhagavad Gita, the book, at the back there is a pronunciation guide. So I recommend all the devotees to go through that and try to understand the sound. Then it's easy to comprehend. When you get used to the different sounds, then you will not make mistake of thinking one word to be another. There are many examples like that, where if you just change a little bit, then the meaning becomes totally different. So this is the S, simple S is sa. The S with an accent on top is sha. In some languages like Telugu, it says sa. A different way they pronounce, but it's actually sha. In Sanskrit it is sha. And S with a dot below is sha. It's much more stronger sha. Usually S with an accent on top, S with a dot below, both are usually mentioned as SH in normal English, but it is ambiguous which sha is, sha or sha. So like Kṛṣṇa, the S dot, so that is sha. And Kri, K-R-I they usually write. Ri is Ra and E ki matra, that way also it can be written. But then R, which in some languages it is pronounced as Ru. In Gujarati and Telugu they say Ru, and in Bengali they say Ri. In Sanskrit it is R. So Kṛṣṇa. Anyway, this is something to pay attention, then we can understand the verses easily. Rasaha, taste. Aham, I. Apsu, in water. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Prabha, the light. Asmi, I am. Shashi Suryayoh, of the moon and the sun. Pranavaha, the three letters A, U, Ma. Sarva, in all. Vedeshu, the Vedas. Shabdah, sound vibration. Khe, in the ether. Paurusham, ability. Nrishu, in men. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Please repeat. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Purport. This verse explains how the Lord is all pervasive by His diverse material and spiritual energies. Is that fan switched on? off. The Supreme Lord can be preliminarily perceived by his different energies, and in this way he is realized impersonally. As the demigod in the sun is a person and is perceived by his all-pervading energy, the sunshine, is perceived by his all-pervading energy, the sunshine. So the Lord, although in his eternal abode, is perceived by his all-pervading diffusive energies. The taste of water is the active principle of water. No one likes to drink sea water because the pure taste of water is mixed with salt. Attraction for water depends on the purity of the taste, and this pure taste is one of the energies of the Lord. The impersonalist perceives the presence of the Lord in water by its taste, and the personalist also glorifies the Lord for his kindly supplying tasty water to quench man's thirst. That is the way of perceiving the Supreme. Practically speaking, there is no conflict between personalism and impersonalism. One who knows God knows that the impersonal conception and personal conception are simultaneously present in everything, and that there is no contradiction. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya established his sublime doctrine, Achintya Bheda and Abheda Tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference. The light of the sun and the moon is also originally emanating from the Brahma Jyoti, which is the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. And Pranava, or the Omkara, transcendental sound in the beginning of every Vedic hymn, addresses the Supreme Lord. Because the impersonalists are very much afraid of addressing the Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa by his innumerable names, they prefer to vibrate the transcendental sound Omkara. But they do not realize that Omkara is the sound representation of Kṛṣṇa. The jurisdiction of Kṛṣṇa consciousness extends everywhere, and one who knows Kṛṣṇa consciousness is blessed. Those who do not know Kṛṣṇa are in illusion, and so knowledge of Kṛṣṇa is liberation and ignorance of him is bondage. This verse is an explanation of the spiritual pantheistic philosophy. Pantheism usually is understood as in two ways. One is it's a philosophy. Theology is usually studied in Western understanding. Theology means the study of God according to revealed scriptures, and according to different philosophies, and many are concocted also. Now there is monotheistic philosophy, pantheistic philosophy. So in pantheism, the understanding is that there are many gods, not one supreme power. That is one division of pantheism. Another understanding of pantheism is that they take the universe to be the supreme. Like many people nowadays, they talk like if something did not happen according to plan, they say the universe did not want it this way. The universe has no brain. The universe itself has no brain of its own. So, but their understanding is like that. That is of an inferior understanding. Now, let's visit this verse. In chapter 9, text 13, Kṛṣṇa says, I wanted to see this 13, 14 and 15 verses of the 9th chapter. Now 13th verse is the definition of the topmost person. I mean, not in the sense that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, among men, among normal people. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashritah bhajantyανanya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. Mahatma. Who is a Mahatma? The great soul. Not somebody who is elected by people by popular vote. He has not become Mahatma. The certificate of Mahatma must be given by the authority, not by ignorant people who consider someone Mahatma. So Kṛṣṇa, who is the supreme authority, he is certifying Mahatmas as those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. It means there are two natures, inferior nature, superior nature. Mahamaya is the inferior nature, which is this material energy. And then there is spiritual energy called Yogamaya, represented by Subhadra Devi. And of course, Radharani. Radharani is the prime, and from her there are so many expansions of Lakshmis and Subhadra herself, and also in the material world, Durga Devi. So, so the divine nature is the spiritual nature. They are under the protection of divine nature. They are not under the control of material nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So what is the effect of being under the protection of divine nature? That one remembers Kṛṣṇa and one knows Kṛṣṇa. You will never forget him. Whereas by the influence of inferior or material energy, one forgets Kṛṣṇa. That is the difference. To forget Kṛṣṇa is not our real nature. It is like being haunted by a ghost. We forget our real nature when we are haunted by a ghost, and we behave in, a ghostly haunted person, he behaves in weird ways. Pishachi paile jena matichhanna hoy, mayagrasta jiver hoy, shei bhava udoy. Jagadananda Pandit, a great devotee, he is writing in the book Prema Bhakti Chandrika that a living entity who is under the control of Maya is just like a person who is haunted by a ghost. He, just like a ghostly haunted person, he doesn't care who is his father, mother, wife, children. He will use bad language, he may be violent physically also. He may act in, he is in complete ignorance or forgetfulness of his real position in that point of time. So similarly, when we are controlled by Maya, we are forgetful of Kṛṣṇa and are forgetful of our relationship with Kṛṣṇa. Whether we like it or not, we always have a relationship with Kṛṣṇa, eternal relationship. And that is called the constitutional relationship of the living entity. Just like a law in the constitution, it is the law of the land. You can't dispute that. So similarly, this our position as an eternal servant of Kṛṣṇa is constitutional, is non-negotiable. It's not whether I like it or not. It's either I forgot about it or not. Whether I remember it or not. That's all. That is the difference. So, those who are under the protection of divine nature, Yogamaya, they do not forget. So they are called Mahatmas. And what they do, what is their activity? They fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So this is Mahatma. Now, further, next verse is there. What else they do, the Mahatmas? Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. This is the definition of Mahatma. What do they do? What is their daily activity? Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, dridhavrata, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. There is no mention that the Mahatma engages in political activities or something else. Of course, there are Mahatmas who are in politics, like Yudhishthira Maharaj, Arjuna. It was a political situation, right? Bhagavad Gita. We are reading Bhagavad Gita, which is, at the crux of it all, it's a political issue. It was a fight between two parties. In fact, it was a feud, family feud. But then the whole world was roped into it. At that time, Bharat was the entire world. That's why it's called Mahabharat. Now Bharat means just the land of India, that is also cut away. In 1947 it became Pakistan, later it became Bangladesh. Burma also was a part of it. So even in recent history we can see that Bharat was more than what it is now. So similarly, 5,000 years ago, Bharat means the entire planet. Bharatvarsha. The demigods, they still refer to this planet as Bharatvarsha. And that is because of the king Bharat, who was very long ago, Bharat Maharaj. So, before that it was called Ilavrita Varsha. This is history. And therefore, we can find so many traces of Vedic history in every part of the world actually. Although some more covered than others, but there is clear Vedic history in every part of the world. Anyway, this is the definition of Mahatma. Now, even if the Mahatma is engaged in politics, for example, Yudhishthira Maharaj, or even Lord Ramachandra, Kṛṣṇa himself, what is the difference? The way they rule is different. That's why Ramarajya, the kingdom of Lord Ram Navami is coming April 10th. The kingdom of Lord Ram, what is the difference, Ramarajya, compared to today's Rajya? There everybody was God conscious. The index of advancement of a nation or a person or a group is not the GDP of that nation or the income of that person. Now people are divided: high class, middle class, low class, or poor class, first world country, second world country, third world country, in the aeroplane, first class ticket, business, economy. It's all based on money, economic power. So people are classified as different, based on economic. I actually wrote an article in our magazine a few years ago, Science of Godhead magazine, that I put that because we were traveling a lot to different countries trying to open temples. So every time we go to the airport, we always see this business class, first class row, and economy class. We are fighting for such an equal society. So-called India has abolished caste system. Of course, it is still there unofficially, but they have all this removed. But you see, the classes are still being maintained in a different way by economy, and people accept it. Oh, that is first class. You don't go there. Let's go to economy. Is that not inequality? So that is the index now of who is advanced, who is the first world country. Character doesn't matter. He is the lowest or Naradham. The lowest character doesn't matter, but if he has money, he is considered top, higher echelon of society. So that's not the Ramarajya. Ramarajya means they are classified according to character. And the so-called caste system that is there in India is a perverted representation of this original scientific system. Caste system is, for those who are new here, so caste system is not actually by birth, it is by qualification. Rubber stamping someone as Brahmana is useless just because he was born to a Brahman family. Useless. It's like an engineer son does not become engineer by birth. What is the nonsense this is, engineer by birth? There's no such thing. Yes, he may have a good chance of becoming an engineer by emulating his father, but he himself has to be qualified. So similarly, a Brahmana's son may have a good opportunity to become a Brahmana, but he's not a Brahmana by default. There's no such thing. There are qualities of Brahmana. Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. Kṛṣṇa says in 4th chapter, 13th verse. Let's see. This is all evidence. We have to study religion according to evidence, based on Krishna's word, on God's word, on Vedic authority. So this is the description of the so-called caste system that is known, but the more scientific version, the real version of it. So Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam. Kṛṣṇa says, I have created this 4 divisions of human society, and nobody can undo it. Even though we may take out the nomenclature of it, the names Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, the qualities don't go away anywhere. The quality of a Brahmana is that, in brief, they are intellectuals, and not just atheistic intellectuals, they are actually theistic intellectuals, believing in the word of the Vedas as a supreme authority. not blind belief. Blind belief is when we believe something when the authority is not authorized. We take somebody as authority who is actually not authorized. But here, taking the word of the Supreme Personality of Godhead established by the greatest of sages, who are far greater than any of these scientists today. Scientists today have no brains actually. They may create some rocket, they create some technology, this and that, but they don't understand actually what is the root of life. Root of all existence is who they are. They don't even know who they are. Forget about anything else. So self-awareness is lacking. What kind of knowledgeable person can he be? So those are not Mahatmas. Rubber stamping as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, this is useless. Guna karma vibhagashaha, according to quality and according to their work. This is a meritocracy, based on meritocracy. What is his qualities and what is his work? If he is not having the qualities of a Brahmana and if he is not working as a Brahmana, he is not a Brahmana. But if somebody is born of a father or mother who is not from any so-called Brahmin family, but if they have the qualities of a Brahmana, they are Brahmana. And if a person is born in so-called Brahmin family, but he has the qualities of a Shudra, he is Shudra. And it is not that, Shudra means, something less, something untouchables. No. Everybody has their place. But the so-called birthright Brahmanas, they abuse the whole system. That was what it actually was. Now let's see the qualities of Brahmana, for example. We are diverting a bit, but you see. Shamo damas tapah saucham kshantirarjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. 18th chapter, 42nd verse. Whoever has these qualities and work accordingly, they are Brahmanas. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. So anybody who has these qualities, knowledge means again not this PhD knowledge that is useless, there is avidya. We are not talking about that. Knowledge means first of all I should know who I am. Atma Tattvam, that is knowledge. Whatever we are learning in the so-called school is an art of livelihood. How to earn money from that, that's all. That's not knowledge, that's a skill set we are learning, that's all. And a language and something like that. And some contorted history. But that's not real knowledge. Real knowledge means I must know who I am, I must know who God is, I must know how everything is created by Him and for what purpose it was created and why are we here, what happened before our birth, what happens after death, what is this whole life about. These are the questions that need to be answered and that is called knowledge. As long as we don't answer these questions in our life, there is practically no difference between us and the animals. Because if we keep on inquiring about how to earn food, how to earn money to get food and sex and shelter and clothing, and if this is all what we think about, then there is no difference between us and the animals because animals also are thinking about the same thing. Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maithuna. Samanyam etats pashubhir naranam. These four things are common among human and animals. Eating, sleeping, sex and fear. These exist in all these humans and animals. But dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho. The thing that distinguishes us from the animals is dharma. Dharmasya dharmena hina pashubhir samana. If somebody has no religious quotient, there is emotional quotient, EQ, IQ. If he does not have RQ, religious quotient, he is an animal. And when we say religion, that is also misunderstood. Religion means some sect, some division, some cult. No. Religion, the actual word is dharma. The English definition of the word religion is a bit off, but that is the best we can get from English. Dharma means the constitutional duty, and in fact, religion, the word religion and anything connected with religion should not be translated by an Oxford English professor, because he is not in the realm, he does not know actually what religion is. So what is understood by people as religion is what a non-religious person has defined religion as. Oh, some faith, as a kind of faith. That is not religion. That's not the definition of the word religion or dharma. Faith I can have in the scientist, I can have in my own self. Many people, believe in yourself. Now Western philosophy is all believe in yourself. What you can do? What you can do? Unless Kṛṣṇa gives you power, what you can do? Kṛṣṇa says today's verse, Paurusham Nirishu, I am the ability in man. What you can do? If Kṛṣṇa just snaps one nerve inside the brain, is paralyzed, cannot do nothing. So why are we so proud about, I did this, I did that? Unless Kṛṣṇa gave any power, we cannot do anything. We cannot lift our hand. You go and see the hospital. People are, they cannot even lift their hand. Why? Because Kṛṣṇa has withdrawn the power from them. So if we can even lift our hand, we should be thankful to God. That is the point here in today's verse. We don't see the presence of God everywhere, but the very tongue with which an atheist says that there is no God is given by God. The rascal who says that there is no God, he got the tongue from God. Who created his tongue? He may say father, mother. What did the mother know when the child was in the womb? She was just having pains and vomiting or whatever, that's all. She did not know that I am now creating the tongue, I am now creating the brain. No. She doesn't know anything what is happening. She is just bearing the weight. She is an instrument in bringing forth the child into this world. Father is an instrument. The soul, on what basis it is being developed? Such an engineering, meticulous engineering, such fine engineering is going on inside that even today, the whole pandemic has happened. The immunologists who are studying the immunity of human immunity, they fail to understand the complexity of the immune system. How does it fight? They have some explanation, the antibodies, B cells, T cells and stuff like that, but it goes way deeper than that. The main thing that we forget is Kṛṣṇa is the one. Forget it. If we eat food, we are not meditating, now I am digesting. Bile is being secreted. We are writing program, is it? Bile secretion activated. Nothing. Who is activating all these things? Kṛṣṇa says, I am the fire of digestion. What is that? What the Sanskrit is? I forgot the Sanskrit. So he says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the fire of digestion. We don't even know how it is happening, what is happening inside. And not only digestion, it is going every part of the body and it is being nourished. So we have to understand these things, how it is happening. So we should understand that unless God wills, nothing will happen. We may define it as a scientific phenomenon or this and that. Unless the Lord wills, nothing will happen. So one who understands these things, the knowledge and wisdom, Brahmana is a person who understands these things. And astikyam, religiousness. He is not a Nastik. Like we have in India, Kamal Hassan, famous actor, everybody knows. He is apparently from Iyengar family, that means Vaishnav family. But he is an atheist. And he calls himself, he may not identify, but he is considered Iyengar or Brahman. Not Brahman, that is not a sign of a Brahmana. He is not a Nastik, he is an Astik. So, this is the qualities by which Brahmanas work. And then similarly, next verse is Kshatriyas, then Vaishyas, then Shudras. But it is just like Mukha Bahuru Padebhyah. See, I will show you. This is how human, you see, Mukha Bahuru Padebhyah Purushasya Shramaihi Saha Chatvaro Jagnire Varnah Gunair Vipradaya Prithak. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.2. We have to know our Shastras like a lawyer knows his law books, Prabhupada said. Where is what? Nowadays there is a big thing about Hindutva and all these things. First of all, know what Bhagavad Gita is saying. One sloka also they don't know, but they're fighting for Hindu. What is Hindu? They don't know. The word Hindu is not there in our Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam or Vedas. What Hindu? So we must quote everything from authority like this. That's why we have this screen here. Because we don't want to just talk out of our head or people think, oh, something he's saying. We want people to learn. We want you to take notes and learn. That's how we learn. So, each of the 4 social orders, that means Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, headed by Brahmanas, was born through different combinations of the modes of nature from the face, arms, thighs and feet of the Supreme Lord in His universal form. Thus, the 4 spiritual orders were also generated. Now, this society has to have all. Everybody is important. It's not the Shudras are not important. No. They are important. They are like the legs of the society. You need legs, right? Of course we need legs. Brahmanas are like the head of the society, brain. Bahu means arms. In self-defense you put arms to save yourself from any danger. So that is the Kshatriyas who protect the society. Just like the arms protect this body. Then there is Vaishya, the stomach, the belly region, which is the nourishment of the whole body, source of nourishment. And Shudras, who are the legs of the society, who move everything. So how is this all structured? So the Brahmanas give the direction, just like the brain gives the direction for the entire body, how to work. Right? And then the rest of the body works accordingly. So similarly, the Brahmanas have to guide the society. The Kshatriyas have to work under the guidance of the Brahmanas. The rulers, they have to rule the country according to the direction of the Brahmanas, because the Brahmanas know what is the real purpose. They know that the real purpose is not GDP. They know that the real purpose is liberation from material life. And they know how to direct people to that. So people can be employed in their respective varnas. This Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra is actually an employment scheme. Just like if an interviewer, he will judge the interviewee by seeing the resume, by interviewing, what is his qualification, and accordingly, he will recruit him, right? So in the betterment of the society, of the nation, people are recruited according to their qualities, whether they are Brahmana qualities, Kshatriya qualities, Vaishya, Shudra. Nowadays there is unemployment because the education is only churning out Shudras. Somebody who, process worker, he is in a process, he is put in a process, that's it. He is a part of a machinery. There is no independent thinking, he is just employed in some way or other. So that is Shudra life. So education is all training Shudras, and there are not as many jobs. But Brahmana post is completely vacant, full vacancy. Kshatriya post almost full vacant. Vaishya almost full vacant. Little bit some businessmen are there, but real Vaishya means not just trade. There are 3 things in Vaishya: Krishi, Goraksha and Vanijyam. Vanik means business man. Some people have the title Banik. Vanik means businessman, tradesman, merchant. So Vanijyam is trade, but the trade is not sinful things, meat. This is not real Vaishya. Krishi, agricultural produce. Goraksha, cow protection, not just cattle, herding cattle and then killing them in the slaughterhouse. No. Goraksha. And Vanijyam. Any excess, he trades. And he pays taxes to the government. 25% of whatever he has earned. That's it. Like that. So, so in this way the whole, and then the Shudras, they are employed by higher castes accordingly, whichever they can, wherever they can fit. So in that way, everybody works towards Krishna consciousness, because they can be employed At the same time, all their activities are for the progressive Kṛṣṇa consciousness of the whole civilization. Now you see, today everybody is engaged, right? Everybody is employed. But what is the prime driver? What is the ultimate goal of all this employment? GDP of the country. So everything is for money. So there is no consideration what is right and what is wrong. If I can earn money, I am a good asset for the country. No matter whether I do meat or what business or intoxication, wine or whatever, it doesn't matter nowadays. It may not matter in the state law, but in the God's law it does. So we cannot say, business purpose it's okay, I am not eating meat, but I will just do business in meat. No. We may not be judged by the state law, but God's law will work. And Yamaraj is watching. He is taking note, everything. And he will be punished severely for that. Wars and all these pandemics so-called, why are these things happening? Some people find it not justified or how it is. But if you really understand the law of karma, there is no such thing as injustice, actually. However injustice it may seem to be, there is another cause which we are not seeing. This is difficult to digest. I said this when, in 2012 there was an issue of a gang rape in India. Big thing happened, right, that time, Delhi. So people will get angry, but you see, those who did that crime, they will be punished for sure. If not by the state, by the Yamaraj in hell, they will suffer like anything, no doubt. But why? Of course, there should be protection. But in Kali Yuga, the situation is such that the government is not giving enough protection. The so-called education is teaching the men to be, you see, the movies, what they are showing, love story. Every movie is a love story. So, and they think that this is life. They go to college not to study, to find partner. Not business partner, life partner. So they are going for this. And if they don't get, they do wrong things, frustrated, this and that. So if a whole generation is trained by a false education system, then the people who come out, they have zero character, because only money is the only metric that is being watched. Other things are moral education. It's not tested. If you fail moral education, you don't fail the class. English you must pass, maths you must pass, history you must pass, science and all that. Moral education, it's a side, co-curricular activities, not in the curricular, co-curricular, side dish. So if that is not emphasized, character is not emphasized, then this kind of things happen. And the person who undergoes such tribulation, such heinous crime, what would you, if anybody sees it, what would they want? When they heard that these people did this, they wanted the worst punishment for these people, right? They should understand that same pain that this lady has gone through, even more than that, because they did it. But if next life, in order to face the pain, they themselves become the girl and they face this, everybody will pity that girl. But if we see the history, past life, because we cannot see it, if in the next life they become the girl out of karma and they get this like that, everybody will be against the perpetrator who did it. And of course he will be punished. You see, one person has to get it, another person who wants to do it, they both are put together and the thing happens. Somebody had to be killed because he killed somebody. It can be animal, it can be human, whatever, in the past life or what. He is getting it. But somebody who wants to kill, he is killing. And that does not mean the one who is killing does not have the reaction. He also has reaction. Because of his desire to kill, he was put together to make the situation happen. But he himself has to answer to his karma. This is how the chain of karma works. It's very, very complicated. And we can't judge everything viewing this one wall to wall, birth to death. Our life is eternal. Things are coming from past, many, many lifetimes, and things are happening now. So now, as much as it happens to a woman, why did it even happen? We don't know the past of that woman, previous life. We're not saying that this should happen, she deserves. No, we're not saying that. But this is how karma works. Everything is happening under the plan of the Lord. The Lord never does injustice to anyone. Why are we even born in this Kali Yuga where governments are like this and no protection for basic civil rights? Civil protection is not much. Why? Because of our karma, first of all, that we are here. We have not been Krishna conscious enough. Therefore we put in Kali Yuga. In the entire span of time, Kali Yuga happens only 1/10 of the entire span. You know that? The rest 90% of the time is not Kali Yuga. There are 4 yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga lasts for 432,000 years. Dwapar Yuga for 864,000 years, double. Treta Yuga 3 times of Kali Yuga, which is 1.296 million years. And Satya Yuga is 4 times the duration of Kali Yuga, which is 1.728 million years. So if you see Kali Yuga times 1, Kali Yuga times 2, Kali Yuga times 3, Kali Yuga times 4. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 10. So the entire Satya Yuga to Kali Yuga is 10 times the lifetime of Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga is only 1/10 of the whole time. Although there are only 4 yugas, the duration of those yugas is far greater. And we are born in that 10% of the time where everything is bad. That means what kind of karma? Every time it is much better than now. And we were born in the time when it is bad. So, and on earth it is like this. In the heavenly planets it is not so bad like this. I mean, the sacrifices are stopped, but they still live. So we could have been born there. There are living entities there in the heavenly planets. They don't suffer as much as we do here on earth. So anyway, all these things are going on, this law of karma. We don't understand the whole full mechanics of it. But complete justice is being meted out according to what we do. So, a person who understands these things, he is a Brahmana. And it's not that he just understands. He has to teach this to everybody. He cannot keep this. There is a difference between this GDP led civilization and a knowledge led civilization. Religious civilization. With money, if you share it, you will have lesser of it. If you give money, you will have lesser of it. But if you give vidya, knowledge, it will increase. The more you give, the more it increases. The more it increases for the speaker also, because to give means you have to speak about it. And the more you repeat it by speaking, the more it will we ourselves will realize the knowledge more and more. And of course, the other person also will be enlightened. But if the vidya is not used for spreading, then it will be gone. The person who has it also will be lost. So, in this way, civilization is constructed. So, Mahatma is he who engages in these things. Bhajante ananya manaso. See, bowing down before me, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination in spiritual life. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So, then he says another, Anye. Now there are others. Pantheism. This is pantheist. Jnana yajnena chapi anye yajanto mam upasate ekatvena prithaktvena bahudha vishvato mukham. Those who are not Mahatmas, their philosophy will be like this. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. Now they are also okay, fine, at least they are somewhere on the path, but they are not Mahatmas. It's not sufficient to be like this. So today's verse is, you see, as diverse in many. or in the universal form. Today's verse is what? How we can understand that the taste of water is Kṛṣṇa. The light of the sun and moon is Kṛṣṇa. The Om in the Vedic mantras is Kṛṣṇa, and the sound in ether is Kṛṣṇa, and the ability in man is Kṛṣṇa. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody is Kṛṣṇa. No, he did not say man is Kṛṣṇa. Ability in man is Kṛṣṇa. So, they say, oh, everybody is God. God is in everybody, so everybody is God. Then you worship, touch the feet of the tiger. Go and touch the feet of the tiger. God, no? Everybody is God, no? So, not like that. We can see that, for example, Rasoham Apsu. Rasoham Apsu means I am the taste of water. In scientific understanding, water is tasteless, odorless. But when we taste water, we get the satisfaction, the taste of water, and it is those who are, connoisseur. Those who are very good at tasting. It's a French word actually, French derived word. Connoisseur. Connoisseur. So they actually taste wines, different types of wines, and they judge whether it's good quality wine or bad quality, whatever. Wine still is bad quality, that's another thing. So, but they taste, and water also. When it is nice tasting, when I went to, in 2012, we went to New Zealand, and the devotees were having this farm and everything, big farm. And then just beside the farm, there was a nice rivulet, like a river, and it's all in the valleys of the mountain. And it's a beautiful place. So we went to the river, and the water was just crystal clear. And we just took some water and drank. It's like a taste of no other. I've never tasted water like that. So pure. And I'm sure if you go to, in the Himalayas, the taste of Ganga, if you, from there, and it is actually just coming out. It's like that. And it's pure taste. So tasty. I was thought, wow, water can be this tasty. So, so that is Kṛṣṇa. Unless the active principle in everything, unless Kṛṣṇa makes it happen, there is nothing. Nothing can exist without him. So to realize that, to identify that, that is actually Kṛṣṇa consciousness. That is how we begin. How to see Kṛṣṇa everywhere. People say, oh, why should I come to temple? Kṛṣṇa is everywhere. He is in my heart. Yes, Kṛṣṇa is in everyone's heart. That is correct. But they cannot see. It's like language is everywhere, no? English is everywhere. Why do you go to school then? Why do you go to school? No need to go to school, right? English is everywhere. Or maths is everywhere. Business is going on. Yeah, but how to do it methodically we have to learn. And that place is a school. So similarly, although God is everywhere, how to methodically see Him, we have to learn in the temple. A temple is actually a place, it's like a university, real temple. Nowadays, temples, unfortunately, they have just become a place where people come and take darshan, and then maybe sit down for a while and go. That's it. There is no teaching going on. And that is not real temple. Kṛṣṇa, Narayana himself says to Narada Muni, he says, Yatra gayanti madbhakta, tatra tisthami Narada, naham tisthami vaikunthe, naham yoginam hridayeshu va. Yatra gayanti madbhakta, tatra tisthami Narada. Wherever my devotees are actually glorifying me, spreading my message, singing about my glories and speaking, there is where I reside. Not really in the temples or everywhere, anywhere else. It's the devotees who invite the Supreme Lord, and the Lord obliges by the request of the devotees. So in the company of devotees, we actually become a devotee of God. You see, people are going to many temples and coming back. What is changing in the life? Nothing is changing. They're not having any new understanding of who they are or what to do with life and how to even become purified. How to have even basic qualities. Like no meat eating. No, they say, oh, today I am going to temple, so I will not eat meat. If you know it is bad, why are you eating? Any day. Oh, today is Thursday, I will fast. Today is Monday, Saturday. So what is the meaning of all these things? What is this Monday, Thursday and all this? Every day satatam kirtayanto mam. So this is all some sentimental nonsense, and that is known as Hinduism today. Some sentimental nonsense, hodgepodge, rubbish. Because why? Knowledge is lost. Everybody is doing, because my grandfather told me, my grandmother told me, my mother told me. This is how they learn what religion is. That's not how we should learn. Shastra, what is right, what is wrong, what ought to be done, what ought not to be done. These things should be understood by the Shastra. Prabhuji. Mataji is on this side, Prabhuji is on this side. Please come.
Sorry?
Gents on this side. Yeah, no problem. So, you see, we have to understand that when we go to a temple, the main thing is the knowledge. And Bhagavad Gita, Kṛṣṇa has spoken. For what he has spoken? For us to listen. Arjuna actually was a devotee anyway. He did not need, he was already enlightened. But he was made to ask questions so that our questions can be solved. And if in a temple there is no teaching of this, that's not a temple. It may have a structure, it may have a beautiful structure. Useless. Absolutely useless. So this has to be revived. This whole culture has to be revived. So, and that is what we are doing. Some people say, they see the address of our temple, number 9, Lorong 29, Gelang, 03-02. What is 03-02? What kind of temple is this? 03-02. Oh, unit number, flat number, what? And then they come. Oh, where is I was looking for your temple, there's nothing. There's some apartment, some floor. Because they are used to temple means Gopuram and all this. Yes, ideally that should be the way. So, you see, previously temples were the highest buildings in the town. If you go to Jagannath Puri, you are not allowed to have a building higher than the Jagannath Puri temple. That is the culture. So from anywhere in the town, the chakra on the top, the Gopuram will be found, and everybody can remember Lord Jagannath. Nowadays, what is the tallest building? Where money is there, CBD, Central Business District. Previously, the Central Spiritual District was the epicenter of the entire town. And that is the focus. Everyone, when they wake up, from far they can see the structure of the temple. And Jaya Jagannath, like this in Jagannath Puri. Everywhere. That used to be the standard. No building is allowed to be higher than the temple. Nowadays, temples are hidden away somewhere, locked up, like ours, you see, in some floor somewhere, not even a full building. But why? Kali Yuga. But here is where the teachings of Kṛṣṇa are spread. Kṛṣṇa says, even if it is under the tree, it doesn't matter. If my glories are sung, there is where I reside. When Bhagavatam was spoken, it was spoken under a tree in Naimisharanya, on the bank of Ganga. When Bhagavad Gita was spoken, it was spoken on a battlefield. Wherever God is, wherever the discourses of God are going on, that is worshipable. And therefore in the Bhagavad Gita, the first verse, it is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. So although this is number 9, Lorong 29, Gelang, hash 03-02, it is a Dharma Kshetra. It's not some flat. So, here is where, and on the contrary, if you have a beautiful building, gorgeous, vast place and everything, but there is no Harikatha going on, there is no message of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam being spread, it is just a show. Although we may take that as the temple, that is not the real temple. This is the temple. And let's see, actually, in the Bhagavad Gita it said here, how people accept what is religious and what is not religious and what is... You see, okay, let's go from 18.30 of 18th chapter, 30th verse of Bhagavad Gita. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha yavetti buddhi sapartha satviki. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. Satvik, Rajasik, Tamasik. This is not only food. People think, oh, Sattvic food, I want Sattvic food. Not only everything we must be Sattvic. Sattvic means in the mode of goodness. Our mode of life should be in the, at least in the Sattva Guna, if not higher than that. There is another state called Shuddha Sattva, which is even higher than Sattva Guna, higher than Sattvic, which is transcendental, which is the Vasudeva Sthiti, technically. And so that is Kṛṣṇa consciousness. When we are completely conscious of God all the time, that is called Turiya Sthiti, or fourth state. Sattva, Raja and Tama is 3 states. So anyway, so at least we must be in Sattva Guna. We should know what ought to be done, what ought not to be done. What is sinful, what is pious. What is to be feared. Oh, I am fearless, I will do anything. I will do any sin? I will kill anybody? We have to be fearing the law, right? Similarly, we have to fear degradation into Rajasik and Tamasik, and accordingly we will get our next body. If my consciousness is more in the Tamasic gun, then next life I will become an animal and suffer in hell. Hell is not all them, some imaginary thing. No. There is full description. I mean, very clear, vivid descriptions of hell are given, and it is there. What is binding and what is liberating? So in the mode of goodness. Now, next, what is Rajasik understanding of life? Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam cha karyam eva cha ayathavat prajanati buddhi sapartha rajasi. You see, now this is where our present population is. This and the next verse. O son of Pritha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion. So when we can't distinguish what is religion and what is irreligion, and we may confuse one with the other, that is Rajasik. And that is actually what is going on today. People are accepting, especially, I mean, not only especially, everywhere, even in our so-called Hinduism, we don't know actually what is correct, what is wrong, what is to be done, what is not to be done. We have so many versions of it. That is because of a lack of understanding of what is actually the truth. Nobody refers to the scriptures. They just do whatever they want, in that way. And even if they refer to the scriptures, you have to go to the scriptures. Ado Guruvashrayam Saddharma Prichha. We have to learn the scriptures from a bona fide spiritual master, a guru who is coming from a authorized sampradaya. Sampradaya, I mean not seminal sampradaya by birth, father son parampara. No, we are talking about Guru Shishya parampara, coming from Kṛṣṇa, Vaishnava parampara. So only then can we really understand the Vedas. Otherwise, even Vedeshu Durlabham. Kṛṣṇa is not, although Vedescha sarve rahameva vedya, Kṛṣṇa is saying by all the Vedas I am to be known. If you have read all the Vedas and you still don't know me, you have not understood anything. Your study of Vedas is useless, Kṛṣṇa is saying. But the irony is that Vedeshu Durlabham, if we actually study the Vedas, we cannot get Kṛṣṇa. Why? Because Adurlabham Atma Bhaktao, we have to learn it through the proper channel. If I learn physics from say a doctor, that's not the proper way to learn physics. Or if I want to learn biology and I go to a cricketer, that's not a proper person to go. So if I have to learn the Vedas and I go to somebody who is not an expert in that, I cannot understand. The purpose, actually there is one verse in Mahabharata. Tarko pratishtha shrutayo vibhinna nasa vrishiryasya matam na bhinnam dharmasya tattvam nihito guhayam mahajano yena gata sapantha. Tarko apratishtha. By debates we cannot come to a conclusion. What is right, what is wrong. No. Shrutayo vibhinna. By studying all the different scriptures. Oh, I have done this and what? Some people say, I have done interfaith. What is it called? Study. What is it called? Huh? Theology. But what is the other? What is the same? When they learn scriptures of many religions?
The religious.
They call it something. I forgot. So they study all the different religious scriptures and everything. Still we cannot understand. And then Shrutayo Nasa Vrishiryasya Matam na Bhinnam. Just by going to this philosopher and that philosopher and that philosopher, we cannot understand also, because everybody will have their own opinions. 7.8 billion people, 7.8 billion opinions. Which one is right? Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. With this, the real truth about religious principles is carefully hidden. Where? In the heart of the Mahajanas. Mahajano yena gatah sapantha. And who is a Mahajan, Mahatma? We have just seen. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa Mahatma sudurlabha. Very rare to be found, such Mahatmas. And the qualification is that they actually are fully surrendered to Kṛṣṇa. Without reservation. And Mahatmanastamam partha daivim prakritimashritah bhajanti ananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. They always engage in the loving service of Kṛṣṇa. They are Mahatmas. And they preach this message all over the world to benefit everyone. That is real welfare activity. Welfare activity does not mean open schools, hospitals, and do things. These are okay pious activities. Actually some are impious, honestly. Going on in the name of charity. They say, we will start school, for example. But what is the school doing? Teaching atheism. Where you will learn anything about God? Real school is the Gurukul system, which was Vedic. That is real Gurukul system, real school system, education system, where people learn all the sciences that the so-called material education is teaching. But they also learn everything in relation with God and how to use everything in the service of Kṛṣṇa. Not that I do something and I do things meant for destruction of the world. No. Everything must be used for constructive, progressive march towards God consciousness of the entire civilization. That is real education system. So, in the name of so-called pious activity, I may be doing impious activity. Because what is the standard of piety and impiety? I don't know. What is correct, what is wrong, what ought to be done, what ought not to be done, I don't know. And the worst is the last. You see this 1832. Adharmam dharmamitiya manyate tamasavrita sarvarthan viparitamscha buddhi sapartha tamasi. The one who is in complete ignorance, this is his understanding. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion, under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction of partha, is in the mode of ignorance. Now in the mode of passion, it was confusing, like what is religion, what is not religion, it's like wishy-washy and all, not like really clear. But in mode of ignorance, one is convinced that this is religion, but actually he takes to irreligion as religion. He's convinced. And what is really real religion, he brushes it off as irreligion, not just brushing it off, but actually attacks it as irreligion. And what is a temple, they actually don't consider a temple. That's actually what I wanted to make the point. This is a temple, this is some flat #03-02. #03-02. That is. But this is temple. And what is not a temple, they accept as a temple because of just the outer structure. Because they accept the superficial things and not the very core of it. The core is the knowledge, the core is the culture. People, Singapore is such a small country. I'm talking about statistics of 2011, I think 2012 or something. In such a small country of 5.6 million people or something, you know how many tourists come every year? 7 point something million. In those days, before COVID. 7 point something million. And you know how many tourists come to India? 4 point something million. What heritage this country has, honestly. It is barely 50 years old. How many years old is this? 57 years old. And how old is India? Of course, this land has been there since since eternity. Since the beginning of time. But the real country, this is only like 50 something years old. They are getting tourists that much. In India, 4 million. Less than Singapore. Yearly tourists. Entire India. Why am I saying this? Because no upkeep of first of all the tourist sites. No, maybe safety profile of India is very bad. So that's one thing. But honestly, even those who appreciate so-called Indian architecture and all this culture and all this tourist locations and this and that, they just appreciate the architecture of the temple. Those intricate architecture. It's beautiful, right? It's beautiful actually. But is that what is to be glorified? Yes, it should be appreciated. But you should understand, why was it done? Why was such care taken to build a temple, build a structure with such intricate designs? What was there in the temple? What was the core bhava that brought rise to this temple structure? If we don't understand that core bhava of the whole thing, then we are just looking at the skeletal remains of what was once a great civilization. It's just a skeletal remains, just like fossils of some dinosaur somewhere, they will find, and bones and what these temple architecture is just the remaining, the remains, the skeletal remains of the real civilization. The real greatness is not even in the architecture. Like for example, of course they say this Taj Mahal was constructed by this Akbar and all. Actually there's another thing, whole thing, Tejo Mahal, Shiva temple and all this, so many other things. Then he took it over and then he made it a tomb for his wife. But you see, they say, oh, it is such a beautiful architecture, wonder of the world, and this is the what is symbol of love. How a husband should love his wife. Maybe he looted and gave it to her. That's another thing. Now they glorify it. They glorify the bhava. Oh, how much he loves his wife. He said he made such a beautiful tomb for her. Who has a graveyard? So beautiful, and everybody is going to see the graveyard, and that is a wonder. Here temple is there, and that is treated like a graveyard. Their graveyard is there, it is treated like a temple. Why? Tamasic nonsense. The bhava of the place. Why was such care? What was in that building that artisans, such care was taken. So that we should understand. Angkor Wat in Cambodia is the biggest Vishnu temple in the world. That means Vaishnavism was very much prominent in this part of the world. Even in Indonesia, Thailand, so much the Ramayana story is so famous here. Everybody knows Ramayana. I have been to Indonesia, Bali. I have seen huge statues of Pandavas, Pancha Pandav. Never seen in India. Their airlines is Garuda. Our airlines is what? Air India now became Tata something. Tata, bye. There's Garuda. They are more Vedic than us, at least in nomenclature. But that's not enough. These are all remains. These are all remains of a great civilization, of a great culture. So we have to revive the core. To revive this whole thing requires revival of the core. And at the core of it all is our consciousness. Our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, his Guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he established 64 temples in India before he left this world, called Gaudiya Math, that institution. 64 temples. all over India. And he left this world in 1937, January 1st, almost 1936 actually. 1937, January 1st, 5:30 a.m. like that. So before that, he constructed 64 temples. Then one gentleman, he came to him and said, such a great work you have done. You have revived Vaishnavism, you have revived this whole Vedic philosophy. He was a scholar like no other. Nobody could even sit in front of him and stand in front of him and challenge him in any subject. He was a scholar like no other. So anyway, he did this. So when that man, he glorified him, he said, no, actually my real mission is to establish a temple in everyone's heart. That is the whole point. So why he is building these temples? So that the message of the Lord can be spread. People can come and congregate and this message can be spread and they can participate in the services and cultural, not just classes but also acting on the class, how to actually act like a devotee. How to be conscious of Kṛṣṇa. Ours is Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement. What does it mean? We should be conscious of Kṛṣṇa, and today's verse is about that. Rasoham apsu kaunteya, I am the taste of water. While we are drinking water, we can remember Kṛṣṇa. There is an opportunity to remember Kṛṣṇa. And Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yoho, I am the light of the sun and the moon. So, day and night we can remember Kṛṣṇa. Day, sunlight. Night, moonlight. No, today is Amavasya, I cannot see. Okay, never mind. Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. Anyway, water we are drinking, whether Amavasya or Purnima or Ekadashi, right? Unless somebody is doing Nirjala Ekadashi, Nirjala fasting, that's a different thing. Fast with water also. But, so there is opportunity to remember Kṛṣṇa every time. Prabhasmi Shashi Surya. Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. In the Vedas there is the Om. In every mantra there is Om. Especially when you are doing yajnas. Mantra, Om is there. And Om is actually representation of Kṛṣṇa. They say Hindus get it. What Hinduism, so-called Sanatana Dharma has become now, Hinduism, it's just such a hodgepodge. So much nonsense in the name of so-called religion. They say Om has 700 meanings, over 700 meanings. Popular saying everywhere we will say Om has over 700 meanings. What does it mean? Can you tell me? Om has no other meaning than Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa is saying, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, I am Om. What 700 meanings? One, I am Om. Kṛṣṇa is saying. And these rascals in the name of religion, they spread nonsense, fake news. Nowadays fake news is a big thing. Actually spiritually so much fake news is going on in the name of religion. And people are accepting. Nobody questions, nobody tries to understand deeply. They will just take a religion as a superficial thing, some, as I always say, side chutney business. When you go to eat, main course and a side course, like side dish. So their main course of life is work and family. Side dish, the chutney on the side, that is Kṛṣṇa, some spiritual life, some little bit here and there. Just a little bit, touch the tongue a little bit or so. This chutney business will not work. It is the main course of our life. It should be, as human beings. Otherwise, we are not even human beings, to be very honest. What is that? Dvipada Pashu. We will be known as two-legged animals if we are not God conscious. So how to become God conscious? Kṛṣṇa is giving. Yes, you chant Hare Krishna, yes, but also remember Kṛṣṇa in every step of your life. Drinking water, remember Kṛṣṇa. Sunlight, remember Kṛṣṇa. Now, this light, ultimately where it is coming from? Fossil fuels. And how did that happen? Again Kṛṣṇa. You trace everything back. Everything you can trace it to Kṛṣṇa. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Every emanation, everything that exists is because of Kṛṣṇa only. It's because of His will. Otherwise nothing can exist. So we need to realize that in every step of our life, and Kṛṣṇa is giving us hints how to realize these things. Pranava sarva vedeshu shabdaha khe. There is sound in ether. When sound is there, you can immediately remember Kṛṣṇa. Because without Kṛṣṇa, this cannot happen. Nothing can happen. And Paurusham Nirshu, ability in man. Now we may glorify many people. Oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a bodybuilder, he is very strong, this thing. Or somebody is capable, that he is capable of physical strength. Somebody is capable by political strength. Somebody is capable in artistry, painting, say. Some people are dance, music, writing, poetry, or scientific ability, or marketing ability, whatever. We may glorify, or acting skills now, or sports skills. People are fans of sportsmen and actors and actresses and pop singers and all these things. Or sometimes even imaginary characters like Iron Man, Ant-Man, Batman, Harry Potter, becoming fans, ability. So, but Kṛṣṇa says, I am the ability in man. Once upon a time, there was a boxer, everybody I think knows, Muhammad Ali. I mean, those older generation, they will know more because he was in that era, 70s, 80s, 70s actually, mostly. And he was very, very fast. Greatest heavyweight, champion, boxing champion in the world. That same boxer, when he became older, what happened? Do you know his story? Yeah, I think some may know. He had Parkinson's disease, and slowly, day by day, his hand started shivering in the beginning actually. In 1982, when that was his last fight, and he could not even perform properly. Although he performed, but he couldn't move as fast as he used to. He was the fastest, his legs were the quickest, even now, if you compare. So, and his hand, everything was fast. But so he could not. And then eventually he was reduced to a state that not only could he not move, he could not even remember. He cannot even understand. It took over completely his body, and he became paralyzed mentally and physically. Of course, he passed away recently. Once upon a time, the fastest boxer, and at one point of time, he can't even move his hand. He cannot lift his hand. Ability in man. And Arjuna said something similar. See this. He, maybe I should show. Yeah. Let me show you something. Arjuna said, he was actually the greatest warrior of his time, right? Greatest archer. Nobody could defeat him. But then, this is what happened. What is this green thing here? Okay, anyway. Arjuna said, this Arjuna was speaking when Kṛṣṇa already left this planet by that time. Kurukshetra war was finished and the Pandavas ruled the world for 36 years, and after that, Kṛṣṇa left this planet, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj asked, where is Kṛṣṇa? And Arjuna was saying this. You see, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus, my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me. Without Kṛṣṇa, see, he was so powerful. Even Lord Shiva was pleased with his, and he gave him the Pashupatastra. The Mahabharata story. Lord Shiva, nobody can defeat Lord Shiva in archery. He was also pleased with Arjuna's skill. He matched Shiva's skill. Just imagine what was Arjuna. And thus my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, even the devatas, is no longer with me. I have just lost him, whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void, like bodies without life. Only by his merciful strength was I able to vanquish all the lusty princes assembled at the palace of King Drupada for the selection of the bridegroom. With my bow and arrow, I could pierce the fish target and thereby gain the hand of Draupadi. You see, he's saying, I could marry Draupadi. You know the story, right? Swayamvar of Arjuna. Of Draupadi. And Arjuna, pierced the target. He said, I could only do this because of Krishna. This is devotee. He'll never take credit for his thing. He's always conscious. Even though he may do wonderful things, he'll always give the credit to Krishna. And then he said, because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indra, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Kṛṣṇa forest. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Kṛṣṇa forest, and thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of the Rajasik yajna and paid you tributes. Of course, you should know the story of Mahabharata to know what he's talking about. But I don't want to go into the full details. Now you see, your respectable younger brother, Bhima, he was talking about, who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants, killed by his grace, by Krishna's grace, Jarasandha, whose feet were worshipped by many kings. These kings had been brought for sacrifice in Jarasandha's Mahabhairava Yajna, but they were thus released. Later they paid tribute to your majesty. Now, it was he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasik sacrificial ceremony. At that time she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes, Draupadi. And loosened the hair means made them widows. It means all the men in the Kurukshetra died because of his grace. Whoever did the nonsense with Draupadi were killed. During our exile, this is another, Durvasa Muni. I don't know, you know the story. Time is up, so I can't explain the whole story. During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. By his accepting food, thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were also satisfied. Now, this is actually a specific Leela, actually. Now, it was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva, and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya, Parvati. Parvat means mountain. And because she was the daughter of the personified Himalaya, so that's why she is called Parvati. Thus he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon, Pashupatastra. Other demigods also delivered the respective weapons to me, and in addition I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed a half elevated seat. When I stayed for some days as a guest in the heavenly planets, all the heavenly demigods, including Indradev, took shelter of my arms, which were marked with the Gandiva bow, to kill the demon named Nivata Kavacha. O King, descendant of Ajamidha, at the present moment I am bereft of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful. The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelled many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. This is the Kurukshetra war. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it. And only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels that were sources of all brilliance. This is another Leela. Now here, it was he who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, and who in the battlefield withdrew the speculative power and strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Shalya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Sri Krishna, while going forward, did all this. He was only driving a chariot. He said, I will not fight. But by his will, everything just worked. Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Bhurishrava, Susharma, Shalya, Jayadratha, Bahalika, all directed their invincible weapons against me. But by his, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Narasimhadev, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him. It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver. For he is worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation. His jokings and frank talks were pleasing and beautifully decorated with smiles. O son of Pritha, O friend, O son of Kuru dynasty, and all such heartinesses are now remembered by me, and thus I am overwhelmed. So generally both of us used to live together and sleep, sit and loiter together. And at the time of advertising oneself for acts of chivalry, sometimes if there were any irregularity, I used to reproach him by saying, "My friend, you are very truthful." Even in those hours when his value was minimized, he, being the Supreme Soul, used to tolerate all those utterings of mine, excusing me exactly as a true friend excuses his true friend, or a father excuses his son. O Emperor, now I am separated from my friend and dearmost well-wisher, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore my heart appears to be void of everything. Shunyayatam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahename. In his absence, I have been defeated by a number of infidel cowherd men while I was guarding the bodies of all the wives of Krishna. This is what I am trying to say. He lost to who, you know? Some cowherd men who did not even know how to fight properly. He lost to them. He said, you see next verse, I have the very same Gandiva bow, the same arrows, the same chariot drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna to whom all the kings offered their due respects. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes, or accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on barren land. Accumulating money with a magic wand is not real. You are not creating any money. It's just like trick only. It's just you are not becoming richer. Like that magician does not need to do any show to sell tickets, and he can just make money in his own magic, you know. But in the show, he will show he is making dollars, he is making coins, he is making. But if he really can make, then why he needs to sell any ticket? So it became just a show. This is what he's saying. All what I had is useless now without Krishna's power. So this is what we need to understand. Paurusham Nirshu. I am the ability in man. So whatever we can do, whatever is within our capability, we should understand that is only because of His grace, His mercy. As I said, even if we can lift our hand, we should be thankful to God. Because great boxer could not lift his hand when the Lord willed so. And it's not just to thank the Lord. Oh, thank you, Lord, for giving me the power to lift my hand. Now I lift my hand and slap somebody. Is that way how we give the power to that Krishna has given us? Not just being thankful. Thankful is only half of the thing. The real thing that we need to use with this hand is what? We need to serve the Lord with our hands. With our eyes we must see the Lord. We must, with our tongue, not just thank you Krishna for giving me tongue. No, with the tongue chant the name of God. Use everything in Krishna's service because it actually belongs to Him. We say this is me, this is my body, this is me. But no, He is the owner. If we were the owner, we should be able to call the shots. But when He calls the shot, we have to leave this body. Just like a tenant. He cannot say, I will stay here when the owner says, ask him to get out. The tenant cannot say anything, he must get out. So we are only tenants in this body. We are not the owner of this body. So the owner of every single organ of our body is the Lord. And the rightful use of everything is that. That's why you see this verse before we wrap up. You see this. In the Bhagavatam, Sāvāgyaya tasya gunan granite karau cha tat karma karau manascha smaredva santam sthira jangameshu shrinoti tat punya kathaha sakarnaha. Actual speech is that which describes the qualities of the Lord. Real hands are those that work for Him. A true mind is that which always remembers Him, dwelling within everything, moving and non-moving, just like today's verse. And actual ears are those that listen to sanctifying topics about Him. And next verse. Shirastu tasyo bhayalingamanamet tadeva yad pashyati tadhi chakshu angani Vishnu ratha tajjananam padodakam yani bhajanti nityam. An actual head is one that bows down to the Lord and in His manifestation among the moving and non-moving creatures. Real eyes are those that see only the Lord, and actual limbs are those which regularly honor the water that has bathed the Lord's feet or those of His devotees. That means with our feet we must go to those holy places of pilgrimage which includes a temple. Not only the holy places Ganga and all this Prayag and Kashi and Vrindavan, Mathura, but any place where the Lord's topics are discussed, that is a place of pilgrimage. Even now you have come, you are actually a pilgrim. Because the real thing is to actually sanctify ourselves, to purify ourselves. The atheistic version of this pilgrimage tour is now the tourism department. People in those, when they were pious, they used to go, even now, those who are pious, when they have a holiday, they go to a holy place. Whereas those who are not God conscious, they go to some Bintan, some Phuket, some Singapore itself, they go to Marina Bay Sands. Instead of going to the what is that? Jagannath Puri sand. There is also sand, beach, there Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went. You can go there, but no. Here, Marina Bay Sands, gamble. Or go some tourist location. This tourism all started because of atheism. Real tourism is actually pilgrimage. And restaurant business all started because of atheism. Previously, it was a system that every temple used to distribute prasadam. Wherever people used to travel, they used to go to temple and eat the prasadam. And the temple also gets some income to run their operations, worship and serve the people. And people used to eat like that. But without the temple now, restaurants. And eat all meat and everything is all atheism. Atheistic versions of the real civilization. So this is the real use of it. But if we don't use it this way, 2, 3, 18 I think. Is it this one? Taravah kim na jeevanti bhastrah kim na shvasantyuta na khadanti na mehanti kim grame pashavo pare. Do the trees not live? People want long life. Trees also have long life. They have very, very long life sometimes, thousands of years. Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? If we say, oh no, I don't want to be living like the tree, I am breathing, I am better than the tree. First of all, trees also breathe. But the bellows of a blacksmith, what is a bellow? Bellows, when you blow air, even in the harmonium there is bellows. That's how the air is coming and the sound is coming. There is a bellows. So they are also exhaling and inhaling air. So what is the difference between me and the bellows? Just by breathing, I am not something great. All around us, do beasts not eat and discharge semen? So if we think, no, I can have sex, I can eat, I can produce children. Yeah, then animals also are doing this. What is the great? Why am I great if I can do these things? If I can live long? People now, scientific advancement, they want to live long. They want to enhance the quality of life and the duration of life. But if without Kṛṣṇa consciousness, where is the quality? A cheapskate quality. What is this? Nonsense. Faltu jivan. Useless life. And just by breathing, it's not that we are superior. Bellows of blacksmith, which is dead, that also can breathe. Beasts are also passing semen and eating. So these are not the real signs of advancement. That is the point here actually. Then he said here, men Shvavid Varahostra Kharai Samstuta Purusha Pashuhu Nayar Karna Pathopetu Jatu Nama Gadagraja. Very strong language. Bhagavatam is not lightweight. Very strong language, condemn. You see, what is this? Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels and asses. Praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Kṛṣṇa, the deliverer of evils. That means those who don't listen to Krishna's topics are animals. Not only that, those who glorify or praise such people who are atheistic are also in this category. Dogs, hogs, camels and asses. Now, next 2-3 verses. You see, Bilevatoru krama vikramanye nashrinmata karna pute narasya jihvasati dar durike vasuta nachopagayat yurugaya gatha. One was not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of a snake and the tongue like the tongue of a frog. Just now we have seen what is the real use of a tongue, real use of body and everything. This is, those who don't use in the Lord's service, their ear holes are like the holes of a snake. The snake also has seemingly ear holes, but actually he cannot hear. He cannot hear. The way the snake finds out is by the vibration, because of its skin. It finds out where is the sound. When the sound is vibrated, there is also the things vibrate, right? So that subtle vibrations it can detect with the skin, and that's how it finds out. It cannot hear. It's just a showpiece, the ears of the snake, which is very small, but even there they cannot hear. And the tongue like a tongue of a frog. The frog has a very long tongue, longer than ours. Does it mean it is great? No, because it is what is doing, catching insect and croaking, croak, 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 and then inviting snake. The snake cannot hear it with its ears, but it can hear the vibration, and it follows the vibration and eats the frog. With our nonsense talking, prajalpa, without Krishna conscious, God consciousness talk, we are inviting death. That's why it is mentioned. Very, very meaningful. It's not that, simply call him some dogs, hogs, camels, whatever, and randomly call some animals. No. The full meaning, why they are called dogs, why they are called hogs. I don't want to go into detail because it's already late. But there's full meaning why. There's the elaborate description is given. Why dog, why hog, why camel, why ass. Specific reasons are given. Tongue of a frog. Now next. Bhara param patta kireta jushtam apyuttamangam nanamen mukundam Shāvau karau no kurute sapariyam harerla satkanchana kankanauva. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden, if not bow down before the personality of Godhead. Who can award mukti, freedom? And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead, Hari. You see, this is the reverse of what we have seen. If we don't use in the service of Krishna, what they are actually compared to. So the real use of this is the other. Barhayite te nayane naranam lingani Vishnu nanirikshato ye padau nirnantau druma janma bhajo kshetrani anuvrajato hareryo. The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representation of the personality of Godhead, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of a peacock. Peacock feather is very beautiful, and it also has an eye-like shape. But those eyes cannot see. Beautiful to look at, but they cannot see. You can see them, they cannot see. So, similarly, if we don't see the Lord with our eyes are just like a decoration. They may look very beautiful, but useless. And the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered like tree trunks. The tree also has a leg. Cannot move. Deeply rooted. So if we don't move with our legs to the temple of the Lord, we are drumajanma bhajo. We are just like the druma or tree. So in this way we are condemned if we are not using for service of the Lord. That is the real way how to use. Jivan chhavo bhagavatangri renum najatumartyo bhilabheta yastu Shri Vishnu padya manujastu tulasya shvasan chhavo yastu naveda gandham. The person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body, and the person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing. Jivan chhava is a ghost, living dead. Tadashmasaram hridayam batedam yadgruhyamaner harinamadheyai na vikriyetath yada vikaro netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha. Certainly that heart is steel framed, which in spite of chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, does not change even when one displays such signs of transformations as tears in the eyes and ecstatic standing of the hairs on end. So this is samam bonum. So if this is Krishna consciousness, we have to always use everything in Krishna's service. Whatever we have, we only need little bit to live. If we are very, very rich, we are not going to increase our appetite. We are going to eat the same amount of food, right? So if we have any excess, we have to use it for Krishna, because it actually is meant for him. And if we use it that way, we will become perfect in our life. And next life, we will go back to him. That is the whole point. So I'd like to stop here. I don't think we have any time for questions. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.